First things first, I'm Scottish. Yes, so my accent is a little bit different. So, with that in mind, everything that I'm talking about today will be available on the notes page of my presentation. And if you want a copy of the notes, my email address will be on here that you can contact me and I can send it through. Hopefully, you'll understand the majority of what I'm going to say today. Okay, I think I'm possibly the only Scottish person at the show. I like to be different. So, you've got me for 45 minutes. So, with regards to what Mintel are reporting at the moment, natural fragrance and aromatherapy has never been more popular. I've got some stats here that I'm going to read out. So according to a recently released report, it's estimated that by 2024, the natural fragrant ingredient market will be worth over $5.5 billion American dollars. One of the main drivers of growth has been the European natural fragrance ingredient market. The region is expected to acquire nearly 30% of the overall market by 2024. Now, with a progress of 6.5% compound annual growth, this is a great opportunity for anyone that's within natural fragrance and aromatherapy. What I'm going to cover today is these points, yeah? So Europeans are healthier and are more involved in their overall well-being, which has a direct link to naturalness across the industry. Consumer awareness of how and what they either put on their skin or they actually eat is very important to the European consumer. And so, the last point will be, how do you keep ahead? These are the main trends that I'm going to cover today. So when we think about well-being and health, what does that mean for the European consumer and natural fragrance? There is a direct link between well-being and food, which is fairly straightforward, but I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail. There's also the CSR element to it, because when consumers start to think about what the ingredients are either in their food or within their natural cosmetic products, the natural link to CSR stories is very important to them. And last but not least, it's not just about something that smells nice. It is about the multi-benefits and the multi-functionality of bringing all of that together. And hopefully, I will be able to demonstrate that to you by the end of the presentation. So let me just flick my notes. I'm trying not to get nervous. Okay, so the first part that I'm going to talk about is the sort of health, well-being and food element to it. And I've got a few slides to talk you through with that. So the first one here is with regards to lifestyle overhaul. Yeah? And what does that mean? So European consumers are becoming more aware of the importance of healthy lifestyles. To be honest, I think everyone is. But I've been asked to talk about European trends, so that's where I'm talking about. They're taking more responsibility about their personal health, integrating elements of both mental and physical well-being. And in addition, the understanding of what it means to be healthy is changing amongst European consumers. So it's no longer about not being ill. It's actually about being healthy, being fit, being radiant. Yeah? So it's actually looking after yourself and future-proofing what that is. This trend has led to an increasing interest in natural ingredients, including fragrance. They offer opportunities for exporters who manufacture and are able to prove such well-being claims with regards to their products. So the healthy living trend is here to stay. So a question for you all: if you smell something nice, do you smile? It's a starting point in feeling better about yourself. So natural fragrance is really important. It's not just about perfume, it's about your whole regime. So something that smells nice instantly makes you smile, and we shouldn't ever forget that. It is a really simple thing, but all human beings are pretty much the same. So this takes me on to food and the convergence of food with beauty. So here, this is just a lovely little slide that talks around, what is it that we actually want to smell? Where are the top notes? Where are the base? But flavour and fragrance are closely linked, with food trends impacting fragrance trends. So the consumer movement towards simpler, more natural foods has influenced how retailers look at the ingredients used in their personal and home care products, prompting companies like Holland & Barrett, which is the largest wellness European retailer, yet to actually have a strategy that any of the products that they stock on their shelves will not have certain chemicals in them. So the big sort of media ones of the moment that you would expect: microplastics, parabens, the list goes on. But Holland & Barrett have set out their strategy that if products are listed in that retailer, they have to be free from these synthetic chemicals. Other retailers like Whole Foods have done the same. And what they are doing is they're actually making their own products to represent that consumer need. I'm just checking I've covered everything. Yes. So as we, either as brand owners, which is what I am, or whether it's a retailer that uses contract manufacturers, they're looking at all elements of the supply chain. They want to make sure that naturalness is at the fore of any of their beauty products, whether that's skincare, body care, or perfumes. And consumers are looking for it. So over 40% of consumers are looking for natural fragrance. And when I talk about natural fragrance, it's not just perfumes. It's linked throughout the cosmetic industry. So fragrance is linked to our emotions and memory. Having a happy memory from, say, childhood that tends to be maybe food-related, something that your gran or mum made for you, has a direct link to how you feel. And if you feel good, then that's part of your well-being. This is so linked into the natural fragrance market. Now, it's not to say that all natural fragrances smell like food, but they have to have that note of interest. They have to have that memory of scent. Yeah, and that's what's really important. And actually, I think it's a really exciting time for the industry to move into the natural space, and actually for natural to be the norm, yeah? When we actually think about fragrance originally started millennia ago. It was related to either spiritual or feel-good factors, and most of the perfumes that we used at that time were obviously naturally based. So, aromatherapy. The most boring word in the world. Yeah, as soon as you mention aromatherapy to the majority of European consumers, they are turned off by that. However, the science that sits behind that is really important. And I am going to touch on the modern way to talk about aromatherapy that works for European consumers. The fact is that essential oils and the way that aromatherapy works, the science is starting to be there to back that up. Yeah, smell is really important to everything that goes on in our brain, and also essential oils, when they're put onto your skin through a carrier oil or body lotion, then they're absorbed into your bloodstream within 20 minutes. That's pretty quick turnaround for something that can be used in a beauty product. And I think in this particular digital age of social media, where everyone wants an instant reaction, they want something to work immediately, then I think essential oils and aromatherapy should be used more innovatively than they are at the moment. So people tend to stick to a handful of essential oils, the old lavender trip, that everybody's heard of lavender, and the benefits of using lavender. For a lot of European consumers, although they know that is the case, if you mention lavender, it kind of puts them off. So it's just finding ways of having the science, innovation to back up essential oil benefits, but also to storytell to your end consumer something that's different, modern, and contemporary. So if anyone here can find a new word to explain aromatherapy, please come to me. I would love to trademark it. So here is just some graphs and facts about essential oil supply and also the use of essential oils. As you can see here, we've got 50% of the global supply of essential oils comes from the Netherlands, France, Germany, the UK, and other parts of Europe. Yeah, it's really interesting that the base ingredients predominantly come from Asia and South America, but essential oil distillation seems to happen elsewhere. And when we look at the UK, France, Switzerland, and Germany, they're also the biggest users of essential oils. But the chart shows here the different tastes. So in the UK, a citrus uplifting essential oil is what they look for. In the Netherlands, they tend to look for more sweet and sensuous scents. And I do think that culture does play a part in that. Okay, so that's the first part of my presentation, is talking about the links between well-being, health, and food, which is huge within Europe at the moment. The next part, I'm going to go into a bit more in-depth on CSR, on scent trends, and also on multi-benefits. So this slide kind of speaks for itself. In Europe, the demand for organic and ethically produced fragrance is continuing to grow. Although the share of the total fragrance market is still small, if we're talking about perfumes, and the main reason for this growth is an increasing concern amongst European consumers that where ingredients come from and whether they have been produced sustainably. And a lot of the slides that I'm presenting here today have a sustainable slant. I think it's more than being organic or being natural. It is about a full sustainability within both ingredients and the final products. So packaging, marketing, it's the whole package. Another factor that's driving the popularity of organic and fair trade certifications has to do with food products. So there has been more food products certified in Europe over the past 5 years than there has been in all of the years before that. And certification is something that I'm going to touch on in these slides. The leading European markets for organic cosmetics and natural fragrance is Germany and France, followed by Switzerland and the United Kingdom. Yeah. France is huge when it comes to natural fragrance and essential oil, and lots of brands have based their whole product range on aromatherapy and essential oils. And we have to remember that the global market for natural fragrance is predicted to grow at an annual rate of 6.5%, which is pretty good. And that's just within natural fragrance. It's not actually overall natural cosmetics. So European producers can choose to either certify their final products, or they can use fair trade ingredients without certifying the final product. The latter is the one that's most common, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So, scent trends. In terms of trends on scent, again, the slide that was just a few slides ago, by country within Europe, there is a slight difference in the trends. But overall, what we have to remember is the human love for fragrance. It's deeply rooted in our culture and in our spirituality. Synthetic fragrances are created in a lab. It's not common knowledge that natural has absolutely nothing to do with 2/3 of the most popular fragrances made today. I would like to be presenting here, maybe in a few years' time, to have that flip on its head. I would love to be saying that 2/3 of all of the most popular fragrances are based from a natural perspective. But we've got some work to do in terms of innovation in that space. But that's where the opportunity is. So there's 3 different types of synthetic fragrance. So you've got full synthetic, you've got semi-synthetic, and you've got natural fragrances that have been modified by artificial means. These have been developed really to give a long-lasting effect when the consumer actually uses the natural fragrance. And that's where the challenge is for natural fragrance. It doesn't stay around for that long. However, I think probably maybe a lot of people that are either in here or at this show, they are the scientists, they are the organizations that can actually make that happen. And what I wanted to do today was to show that there's definitely a big appetite, and it's just going to keep on growing. So, sustainability. I love this slide. It may look a bit boring to you, but I love it. I think the cradle to cradle is something that we are considering, but not everyone is considering it. And I think the reason being is it's a bit difficult. It's not the easiest thing to do. It costs more, generally. Do consumers actually understand it? So is there a direct link between sustainability and an increase in sales? Probably not as much as we would like. But I think as innovation grows, then we've got a chance to change that. So, sustainability, which you've probably realized, is maybe a little bit close to my heart. I love beauty products. I've tried almost everything, yeah? I would be up for the strangest, weirdest beauty product that there is, just to see about the efficacy. But my first point of call, which is what I've been doing while I've actually been in Thailand for the last 24 hours, is having a look at the ingredient list. What is actually in that product? Where does it come from? Where is it sourced? How is it packaged? Is it overpackaged? Do we really need that? Are we giving consumers the messages that we want to with regards to sustainability? I'm not sure. So let's think for a moment what is sustainable, because it does have a different interpretation to probably everyone in this room and every human being on the planet. And it's trying to get that consistency about sustainability that for me is the exciting part. The other part to sustainability is, it's a bit like the word organic. If you walk into a retailer in Thailand, so Watson's or Boots as an example, and you see the heading natural and organic, 30% of your customers will look at that natural and organic, but probably about 70% will walk straight past. because they think, I'm not really interested in natural, I'm definitely not interested in organic, so that's not for me. And I don't think that's how we should position it. I think we should always be leading with effective, affordable products that just so happen to be natural. Yeah? Rather than leading with the natural organic aspect. I think we turn a lot of consumers off when we talk about sustainability and we talk about organic. I do think it's important, and I can talk a lot about it, but I think we have to realize that consumers want something else. They want to be interested and engaged in the story. Yeah? If we capture their imagination first and the product is effective and they can afford it, then we've got them. All of the other stuff is what we have to do beneath the surface. So, with European buyers in particular, they are becoming more involved in the sustainable management of natural resources. It is actually European law that we have to look after ingredients, we have to look after the community of people that are either farming or generating those ingredients. So from a European perspective, the bar has been raised, but it can be raised further, and this is one example of being able to do that. The legislation is there, and it does aim to protect the local communities, the planet, but unless we all get behind it, we end up looking potentially for loopholes of where we don't necessarily have to think about sustainability, which for me is a short-term vision, possibly for profit. But there is other ways. So one of the ways, I don't know how many people here have heard about B Corporation, but B Corp certified businesses, they look after three elements. They look after the profit of the business, because they're in business, it's a commercial entity. But they also look after the community, which is any human element. So whether that's their direct workers or farmers in the field. And the third element is the environment, which is really everything else. Yeah? And to get a certification for B Corp, it's pretty tough. But what it does is it sends out a message that you're looking after all of those three things. So this is something that is becoming bigger and bigger. And what it does is it gives transparency to your corporate social responsibility. So, sustainability. It's not easy. I think this slide speaks for itself. What do? It's transport will impact, logistics will impact. Is it right that you should source an ingredient that isn't certified, but you know it comes from Uganda, where they don't necessarily use pesticides, but they can't afford the organic certification? Should everyone be using frankincense? It comes from a very small part of the planet, from a very, very old tree. Is it being looked after? This is the sourcing dilemma for fragrance and natural and organic cosmetic products. However, customers are looking for it. These are the types of areas that customers and consumers are starting to investigate. And synthetic fragrance is something that consumers want to change. But again, it's never black and white. And consumer marketing, does play a big role in this. My next slide. I'm depressed already. Certification. Oh my goodness. How many are there? What does it mean? I have no idea. Yeah, and I'm in the industry. Yeah, and I look at that and it scares me. Yeah? You've got certifications for different regions, different countries, for different things. There is work that's happening behind the scenes to try and give a sort of global or even European measure of certification. However, companies can have marketing departments that make up their own certification. Where do you go? It is a total minefield. And again, I think this is something that consumers, when they feel confused, they then tend to ignore and then they don't believe. Yeah? I am a big believer in certification. However, I do think that things have to be simpler, not just for people in the industry, but also for the everyday consumer. Just checking my time. We've got 15 minutes. Fab. Okay. So what I've talked about so far is I've talked about some trends for European consumers. Actually, I think it's for everyone. I think well-being and health plays a big part. The expansion of the middle classes, which is due to globalization, plays a part in well-being. It plays a part in food. There's then the direct link of, if I'm looking at the ingredients in my products, in my food products, I'm then thinking, where do these ingredients come from? Are they safe? Are they organic? Are they natural? And that engagement is starting to process, yeah? And then you have CSR and multi-benefits. So fragrance producers, they tend to take two different routes. So some feature the performance of natural ingredients more prominently in their marketing, especially when it comes to botanical extracts. They highlight the performance of these extracts as active naturals or high-tech properties of their elements. The other way, or the other position, is to maximize the natural origins of their ingredients. But behind the scenes, differences are not as large as they seem. Storytelling is where you can capture the imagination of consumers, yeah? And your customers. It's about your ingredients and how can you tell that story or help them to think, I have a story to tell the end consumer. This is what's really important when it comes to natural fragrance, and in particular, European end consumers. So many consumers are interested in aromatherapy because they believe it's effective without necessarily having substantiated proof. So opportunities for innovation with essential oils is completely open. The research and science is still a little bit slow when it comes to essential oils. Maybe some of that is to do with patents, so essential oils cannot be patented. But I do think the more involved we get and the more that we prove that essential oils actually work, then the more the end consumer and your customers will believe that story. So, essential oils. This is where the difficulty lies, and this is where I appeal to everyone in this room and everybody that's here at the show. We need natural fragrance, and we need to be able to use essential oils. We need to find a way of making that work and making it more long-lasting, and it is quite a challenge. You have two elements. So the science of how essential oils are actually placed on the skin, and then secondly, where do the ingredients come from? Yeah, those two elements are so important, and we need to find innovative ways of using sustainable ingredients and getting the yields right. And variety, I think, is fair to say what we should be using. So everyone in the world knows argan oil and frankincense. They come from a tiny, tiny little part of the planet. Is it sustainable? Yeah? And then essential oils. How do we actually get them? Where the science makes them fragrances, natural perfumes. I don't think anybody has actually done that yet. So just to recap, European trends are linked to well-being, food, CSR, and multi-benefits. The opportunity to innovate is now. So what I've tried to do with Beauty Kitchen, and that's the next couple of slides, is just to show how I've tried to think of all of those trends and pull that together. What we have here is we have Beauty Kitchen seahorse plankton. So microalgae, seaweeds, love them. Boring. If you talk about seaweed skincare or microalgae, generally the end consumer is switched off. There is so many, in particular in the UK, there has been so many niche brands who have tried to engage with the consumer about how powerful seaweed extracts and microalgae is for your skin. For me, it's a superfood for your skin. So what we tried to do at Beauty Kitchen is we have a plankton or microalgae that just so happens that seahorses eat. Now, seahorses are magical, mystical, mythical creatures, although they do actually are here on the planet. We have 53 species of them, yeah? And for being tiny creatures, they live for 15 years. It's a great lifespan. Why do they live so long? Their diet. And we've identified that one of the planktons that they do eat is actually a superfood for them, but it's also a superfood for your skin. Yeah? The microalgae is not called seahorse plankton. I decided to call it seahorse plankton to engage with my end consumer, to give a bit of storytelling, to capture their imagination because of such a magical, mystical creature. We grow the microalgae in Italy in a big greenhouse. It's a bit more technical than that, but really that is what it looks like. And if I tried to engage with the consumer on just microalgae, it just wouldn't have worked. So I tried to capture their imagination. So the first thing is the storytelling for me. Beauty Kitchen is about storytelling. It is then about the efficacy of the product. So the active ingredient that we use stimulates collagen synthesis by 19.3% in 24 hours. That's a pretty big claim. 24 hours is not long, yeah? So the efficacy of the product is there. It's a microalgae, so it can actually be eaten. It can be a superfood that can be added. It'd be quite expensive, but added to your smoothie, yeah? But it's that idea of the connection of food with the efficacy of the product. So that was the first ingredient that I started with. I then had to think about fragrance, because at the end of the day, if the product doesn't smell nice, it isn't going to make anyone smile, yeah? And I need to make sure, because most of you, probably all of you, have never heard of Beauty Kitchen. We've been around for only 3 years. We're a small, independent business, but we do have reach. So we're in 1,000 stores in 4 countries, and we're growing. Okay? So hopefully you will hear more about Beauty Kitchen going forward. So I had to make sure with an unknown brand and a new product range that I capture the end consumer's attention. And scent is the way to do that. So what we did is we added together an essential oil blend. We added Mintel, the most expensive essential oil on the planet. We added lavender, magnolia, angelica, yeah? There's 9 different essential oils that have been packed into this product. The only reason why I use those essential oils is because they are effective for your skin. So the efficacy was there. It just so happens when we blend them together, it also smells nice. Now, I do have, for the Q&A afterwards, I do have some samples as well, so maybe you can give me feedback on whether it does smell nice or not. So covering off the well-being aspects was through aromatherapy. It smells nice, the efficacy works, it's packaged in something that looks a little bit different, yeah? And this is what the seahorse plankton was doing. It also had multi-benefits, because not only is it great for stimulating your collagen, it's also good for moisturization, hydration. So there's a whole list of other multi-benefits that only, if you look at the angel oil, which is a facial serum, is 100% natural. It's self-preserving, so there's no water, so there's no need for me to use any preservative system in there. And it actually works. So the price point as well was affordable. So in UK sterling, it's £20. I don't know what the exchange rate is, but I know that this is an affordable range. Oh, here's all the benefits here. I didn't realise it was on there. I was too busy talking about it. So let's have a look at the final storytelling. 5 minutes to go. And this is some of the marketing that we did. Yeah? It doesn't necessarily scream natural, green, ethical, sustainable. Yeah? I hope it captures your fun. It makes you want to question, what is that? Is it something that I would like to try? Is there a fun element to it? Is it effective? Is it affordable? Yeah? If you scratch beneath the surface of this product range, it is truly sustainable. Some of the ingredients are organic, not all of them. But we want to just have a bit of fun. Now, we're a B Corp certified business, and one of the elements of that is that we give 2% of our sales to charitable organisations. So with this range, the charity just happens to be the Seahorse Trust. And it is on the marketing, but it's lower down the communication. Because if their products don't work first, then the customer will not be interested. So natural is very, very important, but it doesn't necessarily need to lead natural. However, and this is just my last point, when it comes to natural fragrance and perfumes, that is definitely the main leader when it comes to European consumers, because no one is doing it. People think they're doing it, but it's not fully natural. It's that in-between naturalness. And anyone that is doing natural perfumes through aromatherapy, it just doesn't work that well. Yeah, it's just not good enough. It needs to be more effective. Also, when it's essential oils, they tend to be of a premium price. So it's like £100 for a bottle of perfume, natural perfume. And that just isn't, for me, sustainable within the industry. It's about finding effective, affordable ways to produce natural fragrances, not just for perfumes, but for the whole cosmetics range. And I think that's me. Aha. So, any questions? I'm going to be based outside. There's a little table and some chairs. Thank you for listening. I hope my accent wasn't too troublesome. My email address will be on the slides that are available through In Cosmetics. If you do want the notes, then just drop me an email. When I get back to the UK, I will get them forwarded to you. Thank you.